Jae-woon works for a home services company specializing in cleaning for people who don't have time to tidy up their homes. Today, he arrived at the house of an elderly man, a regular client who lives alone. On the table, there was a roll of toilet paper, ointment, and stinky socks scattered haphazardly. He has an obsession with cleanliness, so this mess was a real challenge for him. Jae-woon began working, placing each item in its proper place. Clothes were hung neatly on hangers, and the house instantly became clean and orderly. After finishing the cleaning, he even cooked the old man a delicious meal. The old man praised his service endlessly and introduced him to the girl who lived in the apartment across the way. That girl was notoriously messy, but Jae-woon adhered to his principle. He would never actively seek clients, but only wait for them to come to him. While busy on the balcony, Jae-woon spotted the messy girl the old man had mentioned hanging up clothes. She took clothes straight from the hamper and threw them on hangers without even shaking them out. Jae-woon shook his head in dismay, blurting out, "They look like they were just taken out of the wash, all wrinkled up." Da-young, wrongly scolded, angrily returned to her room. After her father passed away, she lived alone in the large house. Because she was paying off her father's debts and was currently an intern at an advertising company, her life was incredibly difficult. Before going to work, she took 2 large bags of trash to the collection point, but it wasn't the designated collection time, so dumping the trash was a violation of the rules. Da-young was in a hurry to get to work, only able to bow her head in apology to the supervisor. By the time the trash collectors arrived, she was already gone. Turning around, she bumped into Jae-woon. Seeing Jae-woon give a polite nod, Da-young apologized to him for violating the rules. However, she suspected that Jae-woon was trying to approach her to pitch his home services. Regardless, she was determined to never hire a home service. When getting off the bus, Da-young saw her team leader's car drive past. Fearing she was late for work, she ran as fast as she could towards the company. Unexpectedly, 2 male colleagues, wanting to pretend they'd been working all night, thrust their bags into her hands, asking her to bring them to their desks. Da-young rushed into the company before her team leader arrived. The 2 male colleagues tried to get their bags back, but Da-young glanced at the cleaning lady, who had apparently hidden the bags in the trash can. Later, the cleaning lady secretly returned the bags to their owners. The late arrival was covered up, but the bags reeked of trash. The team leader called everyone into a meeting, but Da-young was ordered by a senior colleague to make calls to clients. As an intern, she had no right to speak up, and could only endure it. Worse yet, before she finished her calls, she was ordered by the same senior colleague to order food for everyone. Da-young took out her notebook, carefully noting everyone's food preferences. While everyone gathered to enjoy the delicious meal, she only dared to eat simple sushi to save money. After lunch, Da-young discovered that the company's deputy director had returned from his business trip. Her colleagues flocked around the deputy director, chatting animatedly. She, however, felt like an outsider. Unexpectedly, an opportunity arose. The plan the other colleagues had presented was rejected, and the deputy director, worried, asked Da-young to offer a fresh idea. Da-young articulated her innovative ideas clearly. The deputy director listened very attentively and entrusted her with executing the plan in detail. Da-young was extremely grateful, promising not to disappoint the deputy director's trust. However, he only said coldly, "I'm just giving you a chance to try." Her enthusiasm was like having a bucket of cold water thrown on it. After work, Da-young received a debt reminder text message from the bank. In a bad mood, she battled the strong wind while calling her best friend to complain. Her friend reminded her that if she hesitated to pay the debt, her house could be foreclosed upon. Instead, she should rent out the empty rooms to reduce the financial burden. Da-young pondered her friend's advice. As she approached the entrance to her neighborhood, she noticed that the wind was scattering trash everywhere. In the strong gust, a man was struggling with the debris, plastic bottles attacking him. It was a complete mess. Da-young had no idea that the man was the CEO of John Company, nor did she realize that the trash flying all over the place was the same trash she had dumped there the previous morning. The next morning, a Saturday, she wanted to sleep in a little, but was woken early by the doorbell. Standing outside was her elderly neighbor. As soon as she opened the door, the old man shoved a bag of trash into her hands, demanding that she clean up the mess immediately. It was then that Young realized the 2 trash bags she had dumped the previous morning had reappeared at her doorstep. The bags were torn, and the trash had been blown everywhere by the wind. She immediately recalled Jae-woon seeing her dumping the trash yesterday. She suspected Jae-woon had brought the trash back, leading to this current situation. Young resigned herself to sitting down and picking up the trash, vowing revenge on Jae-woon. At that moment, Jae-woon, the very person she was cursing, was busy cleaning a family's home. The woman of the house was raising 2 children alone and looked utterly exhausted. Jae-woon patiently cleaned all the rooms thoroughly, transforming the house completely. Before leaving, he left a note reminding the husband, who was out working, to empathize with his wife who was struggling to raise the children alone. When the husband returned home from work, he saw the tidy house and Jae-woon's note and began to reflect. He took a leave of absence to care for the children. The wife's mood also stabilized. The 2 smiled at each other, their relationship thawing. As a housekeeper, Jae-woon could enter many homes, but his own home was always locked up tight. He stood in front of his door, hesitant to go inside. He would rather get scolded by his boss than go home. Everyone in the city had their own troubles. As an intern, Young was worried about being looked down upon by her colleagues. Deputy director and called to inform her that the idea she proposed had been accepted by the client. Her colleagues cheered with excitement and suggested going out to celebrate. However, they all forgot about Young, the one who deserved the most credit. Young sadly stayed behind to work overtime. Too hungry to bear, she was about to leave work when she received a text message from her colleagues asking her to bring their bags to the karaoke bar. Young, with an empty stomach, hurried to the karaoke bar. There, her full and merry colleagues pressured her to sing for fun. Someone even made a joke about her being considered for a full-time position, saying that maybe if she sang well, her dream of becoming a full-time employee would come true. Young wanted to seize this opportunity. Before singing, she expressed her desire to be hired full-time in a month and a half. Everyone understood Young's intentions, but no one spoke up. The team leader even joined in, urging her to just sing. After the party, Young helped her intoxicated female colleague into a taxi. The colleague reminded Young that very few interns got hired full-time. She hadn't seen anyone get hired since she joined the company. This comment plunged Young's mood into a deep abyss. She reflected on recent events and felt a great wave of sadness. To vent her frustrations, she called a roadside emergency hotline to pour out her feelings to the operator. Coincidentally, Jae-woon passed by the bridge and saw Young crying. Young also saw Jae-woon. She immediately hung up her phone and ran to confront Jae-woon about the trash. However, 2 police officers suddenly appeared, thinking that Young wanted to commit suicide, and took her to the station. Young explained that she was just calling to vent her feelings and didn't have any bad intentions, but the police still required her to contact a family member to pick her up. She fumbled around looking for her phone, only to realize she had forgotten it and her colleague's bag on the bridge. In her bag, all that remained was Jae-woon's business card, which the old man had given her earlier. At the same time, Jae-woon discovered that Young had left some of her belongings behind. He took the items back to his company and, while considering how to contact Young, her phone received a text message from the bank reminding her about an overdue debt. Jae-woon saw the content of the text and glanced at the designer handbag beside it, immediately jumping to the conclusion that Young was the type of woman who craved vanity. Just then, his boss received a phone call from the police. While looking for Jae-woon, the boss learned that Young was in need of help. The boss took Jae-woon to the police station. Jae-woon explained to the police that he was not Young's guardian. Moreover, Young was in debt with the bank, couldn't even pay the interest. Yet she was buying designer handbags. He insisted that she was definitely a woman with issues. With that, Jae-woon wanted to leave. The boss, on the other hand, viewed Young as a potential client who needed assistance. He explained to the police that they were acquainted. Then, he took Young away. The boss volunteered to drive Young home. Jae-woon and Young had both misunderstood each other and couldn't stand the sight of one another.